All right, the jar man has brought a 2000, what is it, like a 2007 Chevy Equinox. We got ABS lights, we got traction control lights. I've run a scan already. The code is the left rear wheel speed sensor. So we're gonna get this puppy up in the air. We're gonna show you how to change it. It's a super easy job, very straightforward. Anybody can do this with almost no tools other than like some basic tools. I'll throw a link for the part up here on Amazon in the video, and it will also be in the description below. Well, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so obviously depending on the code determines what tire you're at, but we're at left rear. So first things first, we're gonna get these lug nuts off. They're 19mm, and we're gonna pull this tire, and then we'll get in here and look at the sensor. All right, here we are with the tire off. So this cable here with this plug, you pull this up, slide it off. This is our wheel speed sensor. It passes through a grommet down here and actually bolts in behind this rotor. So what we need to do is we need to get the brake caliper off and get this rotor off. So first things first, we're gonna go ahead and start with this. It looks like it's got about a 13 or 14mm. So we'll take these off, wiggle the caliper off, and then we'll pull the pads and the caliper bracket. So let me grab some tools and we will get this popped off of there. So the bolts were indeed a 14. This little interior caliper slide is a 17 if you need to hold it. This is a good time while you have the caliper off, make sure you check your slides and make sure they can move nice and freely like this. So ours are good to go. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull these brake pads off, and then looks like we got about a 15mm holding the caliper bracket on. So we'll get those pulled off, and this whole bracket will slip right off of there. So the caliper bracket is off, the brake pads are off, everything's off. It's a good time to mention, make sure with your caliper bolts you clean off the threads if they're gummy and apply Loctite to the caliper bracket bolts. At least I do both though. But here we go. So now once you get down here, you do have a set screw in this rotor. So that is a T30 Torx. Oop, we're going to hope that God this doesn't strip out, and we're going to shoot it off. There we go. So a lot of times, especially up north, if you live up there, these will rust and they'll just strip out. You're gonna have to drill it and then get it off. They're not important. That is literally just there for ease of assembly at the factory. Your tire will hold this rotor in place once your lugs are tight. So here we go. We're gonna go ahead and slide this puppy off of here and then take a look behind it. All right, so this rear sensor is proving a little trickier than most vehicles, but it's still no big deal. So if you look in here, you'll see it right there, directly behind the parking brake pad. So we're gonna have to pull these rear brake pads off for the parking brake, and then we can access it. So I'm gonna grab some tools, and then we'll take a gander at that. What we're gonna do is probably pull this brake pad independent. So this little clip here would depress and turn, and then we gotta get this spring off on the bottom. All right, so after examining our situation here a little bit more, I decided to just freestyle this thing a bit. So here's what we're gonna do. It's not too bad, but so it looks like all of the brakes are mounted to this dust shield for the back side of the rotor. So I actually just pulled the 4 bolts for the hub assembly. So if you look back here on the back side, let me get you a good view. You got 13mm, you got one up here somewhere. Here you go, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I got them all loose. I'm gonna go ahead and zap those out right now. Then we should be able to slide the whole hub assembly forward and access this without having to deal with the rear brakes, because nobody likes doing rear brakes. This idea is fantastic, but you probably want to have a helper. So what I did is I suspended the dust shield on the upper 2 bolts by leaving them in there, but now I'm stuck holding this. So Jarman is going to get me the Allen wrench to take out this bolt right here. That is our wheel speed sensor. So we will pull that screw out, and then this puppy will slide out, and we'll push that rubber grommet out back of there. All right, so we got that out. I set the hub over yonder. This is all being held up, just balancing on these 2 bolts up here. So you gotta be a little careful, but we'll push this grommet through, just like that, and fish the sensor up and out, hopefully, without those brakes being in the way. It's a good way of doing this. Man, that thing barely fits through that hole, doesn't it?
One eternity later.
That's exactly what it was. So instead of pushing it through, I pulled this side, this plug side, through the hole, and it comes through nice and easy. Sweet. So now we're gonna grab our new one, and we are going to fish it back through, get our grommet in, get this installed in the hub as we stab it into place. Do not forget that on the hub, the bolts need Loctite, and I will get you a torque spec before I put them in, and we will get that thrown out there and put up in the video. Okay, here's our new part. So we're just gonna fish it in the opposite of the way we got the other one out. And then we just gotta push our grommet up in here. You can reach around to the other side and pull on it if you need to as well. Doesn't really matter. And the wire will slide through the grommet. Whatever you gotta do to get this puppy seated in there, just like that. And then again, that can pull through, move in and out of the grommet. Well, it's supposed to. So because this new one slides a little rougher than the old one, I'm gonna shorten it up here on it, just like that. Now I'll put it back through so that way it's a little shorter and my adjustment doesn't need to be as much. Okay, so the sensor's routed in. You're also gonna want to take Scotch-Brite or a wire wheel or brush or even just some paper towel, brake cleaner, whatever you got. Just clean up this bearing mounting surface here. This would be a good time to change your hub if you're having any sort of grindy or crunchy sounds. You rotate it, but this one's fine, so we're gonna put it back in. Or if you even want to do preventative maintenance, that is if you're here to watch the wheel speed sensor, not because of the hub assembly. There we go, much cleaner surface. Get this a nice dousing with some brake cleaner and voila. We're ready to get this wheel speed sensor installed into the hub and slide it back in and start bolting it down. All right, that worked exceptionally well. So the torque on the hub bolts is 52 foot-pounds. Don't forget Loctite, but that went extremely smooth. So at this point, it's as simple as making sure that your plug, which mine is pushed out whenever I got it pushed in, make sure your plug is installed, plug in the sensor, slap your rotor back on, caliper, brake pads, all that good stuff. And you're good to go. If this video helped you out, hit that thumbs up button, and if you want to see more, subscribe.